Wholeness, and welcome to my astrological video on how to approach your marriage spouse seeking relationship dynamic using astrology. And so my name is Raven. Happy to be of service. Thanks for spending some time with me. I'm a huge relationship advocate. I've always been very fixated on relationships, relationship dynamics, how to have a sustainable relationship. For those who know the astrological language, I do have my Venus placement right up in like direct contact with my Pluto placement, and both Venus and Pluto square my Saturn placement in the 12th house. Venus and Pluto is in my 9th house of higher education, higher consciousness, enlightenment, relationship with the divine, morals, ethics, all this stuff. So speaking from that place, my Mercury is also up there. So, the purpose, God or the divine ensures enlightenment through the medium of relationships. The purpose of relationships is for growth and enlightenment. That's the natural byproduct. No matter what's going to happen, it's going to be enlightening. You're going to gain more awareness about yourself through engaging in a relationship. The only way to experience real intimacy is through containment. You gotta have a container to experience your relationship stuff, to work through what's inside of you. Karma's there to need to be moved and processed, and it's going to be spread so thin whenever you get activated and charged. And if you seek resolution or processing outside of that relationship dynamic, outside of those agreements, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're essentially prolonging and procrastinating on it's really like your greatest unmet task. And at that, the big thing with any real recommendation regarding relationships is you got to be on point with your purpose and on your path, and that is represented by your north node. It's the reasoning and desire you actually took on a birth, took on a body, and you were born into this experience. That is all represented in the magical contract of the north node dynamic, moving to the uncharted territories of your experience, of your consciousness, moving out of your comfort zone, which is the south node. It's the K2 energy, moving towards Rahu, north node. So that's our pilgrimage, our unique pioneering pilgrimage journey. It's moving towards our north node. In that frequency, in that gravity, you're going to call in all kinds of true aligned relationships. So that's really the pathway, the vein to focus on. Make sure you get yourself correct first before you can even have a sustainable, healthy, sane, sanity-producing relationship. So, with that being said, astrology is highly spoken to as fortune telling, and how do you get more in communication and bring into tangible form your fortune. Well, it just so turns out that deeper teachings of astrology that I've really got connected with say that the physical realization of your actual fortune, more times than not, is actually your spouse. It ends up being your spouse. How ironic, right? And then within that, I just heard it articulated that our spouse ends up being us making a deal with our own enemy, like one of our worst enemies of another, duking it out in another round, another experience, to say it, another lifetime, if you will. And so you've come together to rectify and reconcile these conflicting energies to produce a more fruitful, prosperous energy and development endeavor. Why do I have that resistance? And it's that friction, masculine, feminine energies, bum, 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 bumping up together, producing birthing a new possibility. So, um, yeah, the marriage pathway in the Vedic traditions is seen as a yoga in itself, as is a spiritual discipline. And there are certain tiers that I've definitely seen. You know, got the householder dynamic, especially as a man, householder dynamic, and then maybe have children, have a family. But you get to a certain point where you're evolving and becoming more aware of yourself and all this through this, that you end up reconciling your own sexual, emotional, creative energies within yourself, and you start raising that upward, and you essentially you transcend the taste and the hunger, the actual like desire for that physical sexual contact, and it's more of a etheric. Even breathing becomes very orgasmic and ecstatic. And so, you know, even communicating, we're just flipping our tongue, breathing this breath, and, you know, causing these sounds, and that's what, you know, what we call communication and everything. And the breath is the spirit, so the way is through the breath, through the spirit. But yeah, you basically, then the next tier of the relationship is, you know, potentially going on a pilgrimage with your spouse to a sacred site somewhere around the world, something like this, or you go at it alone, or you end up being, you know, just a where you can no longer, as a man, be held in, like, you go into deep levels of monk mode, discipline, and really, like, you're practicing and preparing for death, for your next, for birthing out of this womb, out of this mother's womb, into the next experience, whatever that may be, the infinite beyond. So part one is going to be, hey, I love that we're considering the ideas, and how do we get in tune with our spouse, and what does that look like for us. And I'm going to approach that in part two of more the nuances that I've learned about astrology, of, you know, this is the type of energy that's going to be, you're going to unconsciously, subconsciously be like, yeah, that's my spouse right there. I'll go into that. But first video is, hey, you got to focus on yourself, get yourself correct. The North Node there's so much vital information for us in our North Node. If you study your North Node and practice these North Node behaviors, North Node is called Rahu in the Vedic traditions of astrology. So definitely explore on YouTube of the different amazing teachers of astrology, and, you know, start hearing the silver lining in all these things. Where is your North Node, and what sign? That's the how, and the sign, the zodiac energy, and then the house placement where your North Node Rahu is sitting. That's the where. So it's like, you need to, the where, that house, you need to, like, get super familiar with going into that. It's going to be uncomfortable, as you're climbing a freaking mountain, a karmic mountain. It's your greatest unmet task is found in that North Node journey. I guarantee you. So everything else will come into resolution through consciously willing yourself in that direction. Your comfort zone, you already mastered this, is deeply embedded in who you are. You can do it with your eyes closed. So move out of that comfort zone, out of your South Node, out of the K2 energies, towards that North Node, and that's your golden ticket, honestly. All right, stay tuned for part two. If you have any questions from this one, feel free to share, and I'll do my best to respond at the capacity that I can do so. Wholeness. My name is Raven. Again, thanks for spending some time with me, and have a great experience.